Welcome to the School Leaders Podcast. My name is Dr. Gastrid Harrigan, the podcast for current and emerging school leaders, those who support and supervise them. You will hear from passionate educational leaders who are transforming their schools, communities, and creating positive outcomes for students. I will also share my personal reflections and tips from over 15 years as a school leader. Together, we will talk about how to level up our schools and leadership practices. Hello. Welcome to the School Leaders Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Gastrid Harrigan. Thank you for making the School Leaders Podcast part of your growth journey. Before we get started with today's episode, I want to encourage all of our listeners to join the School Leaders Podcast community on Facebook. There we continue and extend our conversation from the episode. Also, don't forget to check out my website, www.drgharrigan.com. Again, that's drgharrigan.com, drgharrigan.com. There you can listen to the podcast, read our monthly blog, and sign up for our monthly newsletter. I would like to thank all of you who are listening to the podcast and also sharing it on social media, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Twitter, whether it is Instagram, or even on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Don't forget to tag me so I can personally thank you for sharing it. Take a moment right now to subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with someone, with friends, with family members, and on social media. Don't forget also to leave a 5-star rating and a positive comment. When you do, it helps other listeners to find the podcast. Let's get started. In today's episode, I am going to share a few ideas and thoughts on self-care tips for educators. I'm going to share 3 self-care tips that are intended as reminders for educators, for teachers, for school leaders, for principals as they enter the summer months and begin planning for the new school year. This past year, I'm reminded of one of my teachers who was going through a season of difficulty. It was a high-stress time for her. She was dealing with personal and professional stress. Every day, she'd get up, get dressed, put on her best, drive to school, and she reported to work, walk through the hallways, go upstairs into her classes, and she would set up her class, prepare for kids, and try to teach. She would not call in. She would come every day, but her performance began to be impacted. Her performance began to impact it, and it was visibly, I could see it, knowing the specific teacher. I remember sitting down with her, and she was sharing with me that she was experiencing traumatic episode almost daily. Almost daily she was experiencing. In fact, she said sometime as she get out of her car, as she walked through the building doors, at times she would have a pondering headache, and sometimes she would shake. But yet every single day she got up and she showed up to work. And I asked her, why you don't take a couple of days off work and really take care of you, take care of yourself? And she says, I got to be there for my kids. I got to show up to work every day and be there for these kids because these kids depend on me to be there every day. And quite frankly, she was one of those teachers that did a lot of stuff. Besides teaching, she did a lot of stuff around the school. She put together a lot of activities, a lot of events. And yes, the moment she walked through the door, kids were there waiting to greet her, waiting to see her. But I had to help her understand that you have to take care of yourself first before you can give and take care of the kids or take care of others. So during our conversation toward the end, I say to her, listen, I am going to get you a sub. You could go home if you like, or you could find a quiet spot on campus. Maybe go out to our garden in the back. Maybe you go to our Zen spot and sit and enjoy a breath of fresh air. Or maybe you just go see the nurse, check on yourself, or perhaps avail yourself to one of the family therapists, family counselors on campus. But I am going to get you a substitute teacher. So that way, whenever you are going through or facing or having a traumatic episode, I want you to have someone next to you, with you daily, to assist, to help you during this period. You see, teachers and school leaders are natural caretakers. You take care of everyone else except yourself. While kids need a champion, kids need a community of people who care for them, a community of people who surround them with love, who provide the best educational learning environment for them. But it's important to understand that you must take care of yourself if you are going to take care of the kids. Simply put, self-care truly matters. It's important that we take care of ourselves. It is important that we take time to rejuvenate and at the end of the day, fill our own cup. Why? You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't pour if your cup is on empty. So it's important that you take time to refill, to rejuvenate, in order to give and go further. Early this year, researchers from the University of Missouri and an elementary principal got together and they began to examine teacher surveys. They looked at 2,300 teacher surveys. And some of the things that they found was alarming. They found that teachers were having a difficult time, a tough time managing their stress. Teachers were having a tough time managing the behaviors in the classroom. They were having a tough time managing the work demand. Administrators, we often like to add more and more on teachers. And so teachers were having a difficult time. As they look at the data, they noticed that some teachers indicated that they were going to quit. Some were going to retire. Some were going to find another job where they could assist educators, but they were going to leave the classroom. And those who couldn't leave the classroom, for whatever the reason may be, expressed that they had a lower job satisfaction due to the demand of the job, due to the challenge that comes with the day-to-day teaching profession. In fact, similar studies have found that not only does high stress impact your well-being, but also the well-being of your student is impacted by your high stress. So as a school administrator, if your stress is high, that stress is going to be felt by your staff. And teachers, if you are stressed, your stress is going to be felt by your student. In fact, the study shows that your well-being or lack thereof impacts the well-being of the students that are entrusted to you in your classroom. Because your stress impacts the students' well-being in the classroom, that impacts the relationship that you have with kids, the connection that you have with kids in the classroom, and that leads to impacting their academic achievement. Think about that. Your stress impact student well-being, impact the relationship you have with them, and ultimately impact their achievement. Your stress bleed on students in your classroom. Your stress, it bleeds on students in your classroom. So it is imperative this summer and for the upcoming school year that you put together a plan to reduce your stress, to take time to rejuvenate, and ultimately make deposit in your own cup. If you're not convinced, for nothing else, take care of yourself for the sake of your students. Take care of yourself for the sake of your students entrusted to you. Tip number 1, slow down and be present. It's very important to slow down over the summer and be present. Connect with colleagues over the summer. Take time to reach out to that colleague that you said you were going to, hey, we should get together sometime. Go ahead and reach out to them and try to connect with them over the summer. And while you are connecting with them, make sure you are present. Make sure you are not distracted, but you are present with them. You're giving your full self to them. Take time to connect with family members. Take time to connect with your children, your spouse, your loved ones. Take time to connect with them. It could be you could connect with your friends, whether it is over breakfast, whether it is over lunch, whether it is over dinner. Take time to slow down and connect with the people that are important in your life. Take time to connect with your families, members, your kids. Go on a vacation. And if you cannot go on a vacation, enjoy the activities that are in your city, in your town. What's important is that you slow down and you connect with family members, with kids, with friends and colleagues. Take time to enjoy their presence and reconnect with them on a deeper level. And at bare minimum, simply go out and get a breath of fresh air. Be present at home. Be present wherever you find yourself. What's important is to slow down and be present. Researchers also find out that when we do certain stress relieving activities, for example, connecting with other people, connecting with family members, it helps lower your stress level. Even when we sit down and read a book, whether it's a book club, whether you are at home reading a book, it helps reduce your stress level. It also improves your coping strategies. And what's important also, it helps reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. Think about that for a second. Connecting with other people, with family members, with loved ones, with trusted colleagues, help lower stress, improve coping strategies, and reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. So it's very important to take care of yourself, to slow down, to breathe, or at the end of the day, to simply do nothing. You have my permission this summer to simply do nothing. Sleep in a little bit more. Get out of bed later in the day. Take more naps during the day. Go for a walk. What's important is that you slow down, you are present, and you rejuvenate. Tip number 2, disconnect. I give you permission to disconnect. If you're like me, you're probably connected on social media. If you're like me, you are probably connected to your work email on your phone, on your home laptop, or devices that you have. If you're like me, you're probably connected to your personal email, whether it's on your phone, on your personal devices. You are connected constantly. And while it is important to be connected, all these stuffs often drain us. We may not want to admit it, but there's a lot of stuff that we are connected to, and even people that we are connected to, that simply drain us. So it's very important to disconnect in order to rejuvenate and refill our own cup. Nobody's going to refill your cup for you. So it's important that you disconnect from anything that drains you. Anything that drains you, I encourage you, I challenge you to disconnect. In fact, I give you permission. You have the right to disconnect from work-related communication outside of normal school or work hours. I give you permission to disconnect from any person that drains you, that pulls you into a sphere that you do not want to be in. I also challenge you to disconnect from social media. If you're bold enough, I challenge you to disconnect for a day. Maybe disconnect from social media for 3 days. Maybe go a little bit further. Disconnect for a week. And if you're bold and serious about your own mental health, I encourage you to disconnect from social media for at least a month. Trust me, you won't miss a bit. Make it a habit to disconnect on a regular basis for your mental health. Make it a habit to disconnect on a regular basis for your own physical health. Tip number 3, write down what you are grateful for. I'm recommending that you write down those things that you're grateful for. Write down in your journal, write down in a book, the people and the reason you are grateful for them. Write it down. Write down some of the things that give you joy, that brings you peace. Write down some of the things that, this past year, people who supported you, things they did for you that helps to support you. If you're an educator, a teacher, that colleague who held the door for you, the colleague who held your class when you had to run to the restroom, when you had to quickly go make those copies, or you were running late to work and you called a colleague and they held your class for you. Whatever it is, the loved ones, your family members, write down what you are grateful for. Next, I want to challenge you to buy a card, write it down and share it with them. Write them a letter. Write a letter to maybe a family member, a loved one, and let them know that you are grateful for them and the reason why you are grateful. Write down a letter to a colleague, perhaps even a boss, and share with them and express the reasons you are grateful for them. If you cannot get a card, you may, or you can't write a letter, I encourage you to get out your laptop or even your cell phone and send them an email today. Send them an email and let them know you are grateful for them. At bare minimum, take out your cell phone and send them a text. And in that note, send them a detailed text letting them know how grateful you are for them, how grateful you are for them in your life, how grateful you are for them for their support, for their assistance. Just let them know how grateful you are. It's important that we practice gratitude. Gratitude is critical and help to refill us, rejuvenate us when we express gratitude. It has been said that hurt teachers hurt kids. Hurt teachers hurt kids. This summer and for the next school year, create a plan of how you are going to slow down, disconnect. Write down the things that you are truly grateful for. And as you do so, you will notice that you are refilling your own cup and that you are rejuvenating. While kids need champions in their lives, people who are champion for kids, who will go out and create best environment for kids. You can't do that if you are operating on empty. You can't do that if you are not taking care of yourself, your physical health, your mental health. It's important to take time to really take care of yourself. Self-care is critical. Your health is critical. As teachers and educators, we have to learn to regulate our own self before we can help a kid, a student that is experiencing traumatic episodes. If we can't regulate our own emotions, it will be a difficult task to help a child regulate his or her own emotion. Take care of yourself so you don't bleed on the students entrusted to you. Take care of yourself so you don't bleed on the colleagues that you have in your department at your school. Take care of yourself so you don't bleed on your teachers. Take care of yourself so you don't bleed on the parents. At the end of the day, invest time to refill your cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. There you have it. I hope you're able to take away one nugget to help improve your self-care over the summer and throughout the school year. If you know anyone who could benefit from this episode, please share it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me today. Please consider subscribing to the podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and a comment. Share this episode with a friend and on social media. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for leadership ideas and tips. Again, thank you for joining me today. Until next time.